In this video, we're going to talk about the law taking down Gunslinger Spawn, and he never saw this coming. So just bear with me with this long full story issue of Gunslinger Spawn, issues number 31 to 36. You'll be thoroughly and wildly entertained. But before we get into the content, timestamps will be in the description if you wish to go from issue to issue. Also, don't forget to check out RatedComics.com for some really cool limited print rated comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Rated Comics YouTube channel if you like the content we're throwing up. We do amazing and awesome Spawn content and some other indie comics as well, like Something Is Killing the Children. And hey, maybe I just might add a little bit more to the repertoire. But with all that being said, let's get into the content. Alright, so previously in Gunslinger Spawn issue number 30, Gunslinger Spawn's discovery that the enemies responsible for his sister's death are still alive, which sets him on a new path of revenge, and he's marking their butts for vengeance. So before we go further into the issue, Gunslinger Spawn takes it back to Linda by telling this narration of a flashback. Now they do this narration of this flashback very creatively because you can't just have two people dialoguing about the past. You got to give some kind of visual aesthetic and something pleasing to look at. So Gunslinger Spawn tells Linda, the girl that he recruited in the couple issues to go on his journey with him, he tells her that you deserve the truth, Linda, for all the kindness you've given me. Time you knew the kind of man you're dealing with, then you decide what's best for you. And she's like, ooh, that sounds ominous. Should I be scared? Well, maybe, says Gunslinger. I'll leave that to your conscience. So you want to know why we stopped at that building back there. And this is going back to the previous issue in Gunslinger Spawn issue number 30 when he stopped at that building with that very weird looking sign, very odd looking sign. I thought it was something established previously, but I couldn't find anything on it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but comment below, let me know. So going back to the content here, Gunslinger Spawn mentioned because I've met the men that owned that business, and these were far from what you call gentlemen. In fact, they enjoyed taking advantage of others in a cruel way, and a few of us that didn't abide by their methods, well, they didn't respond too kindly to the people that try to resist them. So yeah, so we get this all-out gun war and going like a blast from the past, so to speak, with Gunslinger Spawn. So Gunslinger Spawn continues to tell her they try to mess with my family. You got family, Linda? Don't you, Linda? I do, Linda says. We don't get along very well though. No matter, says Gunslinger Spawn, they're still your family. But these men, they tried breaking my family apart, and I wouldn't stand for it. And she's like, what they do? Try to foreclose on your house or pull a loan? Because she asked that question because, keep in mind, they're standing in front of a building. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, nah, none of that. They turned my sister against me. And she's like, I don't understand, why would a business do that? Because they're run by outlaws, not businessmen, and ain't one of them got a heart, far as I can tell. And this is a kind of cool set right here where they're blasting off a Gunslinger Spawn, they go empty, and Gunslinger Spawn's like, okay, well, I'm about to blast back, and he goes empty too. So they're both empty. And Gunslinger Spawn says, and I wasn't about to let them push me around. In fact, I let them know personally what was on my mind. Like when guns run out, the knives come out. And Linda's like, okay, so how did they take it? Well, let's just say they weren't too pleased. How about that? So he walks up the stairs, and these gunmen welcome Gunslinger Spawn, but not the kind of welcome that you want to be welcome with. Adios, cowboy. And when he went to where he thought that his sister Amy was there, nah, what he found was not Amy. He found out it was a trap. And Linda's like, a trap? Why would a business set a trap? Linda, says Javier, you're not catching what I'm trying to say. They didn't want my business. They wanted something else. And remember I said I had worse things happen to me than this wound I've got? Well, one of those worst things that was done by the snake that runs that establishment, he did things to me I wouldn't wish upon another person, and those eyes look like they mean to do some sinister stuff. His costume's in shock. We got 1 minute, so cut it open and then cut him open. Oh, with pleasure, boss. He lights up a stogie and they go to work. Tell me when, boss. And they're enjoying what they're doing to Gunslinger Spawn. And though that was some time ago, Gunslinger Spawn believes that the same man would do it all over again if he was given the same chance. Do what? Do what? What did they do to you? Did they do something bad to you, Javier, says Linda? No, Linda, says Gunslinger Spawn. They did something unimaginable to me and my sister. And you can see that they marked Gunslinger Spawn on his chest. They did that very same symbol that's marked on Gunslinger Spawn's chest that was marked on the building in the previous issue. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, that is something that still haunts me to this day. Well, did those men ever pay for what they did to you? No, not that day, says Gunslinger Spawn. But they will. I promised my sister that. Well, if they trapped you, then how'd you escape? Oh, yeah, we do want to know. But Gunslinger Spawn's like, nah, girl, that's a story for another day. But I need to know if those men are still in there, still hurting folks. But before I do that, I think it's best if you can help me find a friend of mine. Oh, of course. And keep in mind, Gunslinger Spawn's hurt. So what friend he's talking about, they got to go to the Wahia. So hours later, Wahia's like, okay, your wounds should have been attended to them sooner. And Wahia tells Gunslinger Spawn is, you can't act like you still got your powers, all right? That kind of thinking will get you killed. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, yo, man, I didn't come here for no sermon, all right? Just do what you need to do. Well, you in my house, and when you in my house, you in my rules. And Wahia's like, you don't seem to understand that. It can't get through your thick ass head. Either way, he goes on to his treatment. He tells Javier, don't move, this might hurt, but I got you covered. So what happened over here? And Gunslinger Spawn's like, well, the angels, they got the jump on me, so they ambushed me. And plus, I don't think Gunslinger Spawn wants to tell him the events of Spawn issue number 350 with the dead zones, and he ain't got no powers no more. But maybe he already knows that. So Wahia's like, you're healed. That's it. Let the healing take a hold. Rest. Though I sense you got other things in mind. And Gunslinger Spawn does. Taylor, I need to talk to him. Well, he's not here. He left days ago. What? Says Gunslinger Spawn, he was hurt. It was his choice, and you just let him go? Just like that? That boy ain't got no place to go, not in his condition. And Wahia's like, then maybe you shouldn't have abandoned him. He needed you. So this is on you. You're the one that left him. Now this woman, you're going to bring her into my house too, and you're going to bring her into your mess? She know your secrets? So Gunslinger Spawn's like, secrets? Let's talk about that. McKinnon, you know he was still alive, and you didn't tell me. You weren't ready. You're still too emotional. You're damn right I'm emotional, says Gunslinger Spawn. You know what they did to Amy, right? You do know. And Wahia's like, I do, but why drag this woman into it? I make my own decision, says Linda. No one forced me to be here. And in case you give a crap, my name's Linda. You ready to go, Javier? She's pissed. And Javier's like, oh yeah, I'm ready for that smoke. So she asks Javier, I need to ask you something. You guys talked about someone named Taylor. Who is he? Your friend? Did you abandon him? Is that true? And Gunslinger Spawn's like, in a way, yes. I had things to do when he was sick. And he's a kid who got caught up in some family problems that didn't end too well. And that's because his dad was working for Angels while Gunslinger Spawn was duking him out. And that's going back to issue number 2. And his father and Taylor had a pretty severe falling out. But you can check out Gunslinger Spawn issue number 2 if you want a refresher on that. So Linda's like, so where did he go? Don't know, says Javier. But he was helping me find those who hurt my family. So he didn't tell you where he was going? So Gunslinger Spawn was like, no, he didn't. But you mind if I ask you something? What would you do if someone hurt your family? If someone killed them and you knew who done it, would you want revenge? Well, I suppose, says Linda. I guess I hope the courts would too. No, I'm not talking about the courts, says Gunslinger Spawn. I'm talking about you, not the law. Would you seek revenge? Me? Personally, says Linda? No, of course not. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, well, that's what makes us different. That building we stopped at, you said it has something to do with money, but I don't know much about that, but you do. This is where I could use your help. Think about it while I go relieve myself. Okay. Well, we'll drive over there, says Linda. So Gunslinger Spawn goes in the bathroom, and speaking of relieving, he's relieving all those weapons in his duffel bag, closes it up, and Javier lets his mind race one last time as he finishes packing his cash. All right then, let's go. It's gonna be a great day. So they go to the business, they go to the bank, and this girl who we don't know of, I don't know if she has anything to do with that woman on top of the panel right there, but she greets him and asks if there's anything that she could do for them. And Gunslinger Spawn is like, that's exactly what I'm hoping you can do. So we don't know what's gonna go down, but something is gonna go down. It has something to do with Gunslinger Spawn being reborn, and he's marking somebody for vengeance. And that is the end of Gunslinger Spawn issue number 31. So previously in Gunslinger Spawn, learning that one of his old adversaries still lives, Gunslinger Spawn seeks to learn more about his business dealings. So him and that girl are in the bank, the girl from the previous issues, and they're talking to the bank teller, and she's thinking that they're married. That's their cover, that's their disguise, that's what they're going with. So she asks him, how's marriage life? Because my boyfriend and I are about to get married, but I want to know how you guys are doing. So they're like, it's cool, it's alright, says Gunslinger Spawn, even though he's Javier in the moment. She's like, glad to hear that. So what brings you guys in here today? How do you want to invest your money in this bank? And Javier is like, I like to keep my things simple. Here's my money, I like to give it to you, now do your thing. And she's like, okay, that's quite a unique way of doing finances. And Gunslinger Spawn girl, even though she's pretending to be his girl, his wife, she just tells her, look, playing the role, playing the cover, like, look, my husband is a bit of a hoarder and he doesn't fully trust financial institutions. Isn't that right? I like my cash. You know, that's what he says. So the banker signals her boss, and he comes in like, hey, you know, my name is Wilbur. I'm the manager of this branch. Thanks for coming in. I can assure you that your money is going to be just fine. It's in the safest thing here now. Mary, the bank teller, will go through some accounts, and she'll let you know what options are available to you and what's suitable to you. Or you guys can decide on that. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, I could take care of myself. And so the thing is, and this guy's like, I'm sure that's true, but our security will help keep an eye on things, all right? And Gunslinger Spawn's starting to get tensed up, like, I don't need no damn authorities. So as the guard approaches, Javi tenses, then reaches for his knife. And she's playing gracefully, like, hey, you know what? Easy there, baby, easy, it's okay. And she tells him, do you mind giving my husband and I a few minutes? I'd like to speak with my husband if that's okay. So they're like, of course, we'll part ways, we'll come back in a few. And she's like, are you freaking nuts? You brought a damn butcher knife? Are you freaking crazy? And Javier's like, I want to know who owns this business, that's all. And she's like, yeah, but pulling out a knife in front of security is not going to get you the answers, my boy. I mean, I'll get you what you want. You just got to keep your damn mouth shut. There's a best way to go about it, and that way is kindness. Javier is like, hell no, I want some smoke, just like them previous issues. So the bank assistant returns minutes later. His undercover wife is like, we really appreciate all the info you've given us, and all I want to say is how wonderful of a business you guys have here, and your owner must be very proud. And the bank teller's like, oh my god, he's a great boss. He's very caring. He has a nice office upstairs. And Javier ain't got no finesse, ain't got no drip. Well, he's got drip, but he ain't got no finesse on this. He's just telling her, come on now, let's go upstairs. I'd like to meet him. Hold up, I'm sure he'll like that, says bank teller, but he's not in today. He's got a big ranch over in the Culver Cliff area, probably relaxing with his family. And Javier's like, well, let's go then. And his pretend wife is like, okay, what he means is he likes to think things over. I mean, and the bank teller's like, okay, I understand, because this is a very big decision to make where you want to put your finances. Well, let us give you some literature so you can read up on it. And Javier's like, reading, I like that a lot, even though we know he don't. So they get outside, and his pretend wife is like, you are really a smooth operator, aren't you? And Javier's like, I didn't understand a single thing she was saying. I must be too thick in the head for them fancy bank folks, but I got what I needed. And Javier's looking at her like, what, something wrong with you? Is something wrong? Everything is. You didn't tell me you were bringing a freaking knife in the bank. And what you said, all you told me is that you wanted information, not to go gun-ho on anybody. Well, I brought my knife, says Harvey, because, you know, for protection. And I also brought more. She's like, you brought more? Yeah, a pistol, some daggers. And she's like, hell to the no, I'm done with you. I can't stand, bruh. So she leaves, and she's like, I'm sticking my neck out for you, and I'm done sticking my neck out for you. I've dealt with enough of this bull jive in my life. I'm sick of it. You macho men always hiding behind your stupid weapons. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, yo, I can't hear you. That, you know, the window's not open. Don't play dumb with me. Wait a minute, actually, are you that dumb? You don't know how to roll down the window? Press the button down. And Javier's like, sorry, I can't hear you. This, you know, your voice is kind of muffled. Press the window down, but she's so frustrated and so mad at him that she just says, forget it. I hope he's suffocating that damn car. And Javier's like, damn, I can't hear you. She must be mad at me like a hornet's nest. So as she storms away, Javier feels bad that she's upset. So he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a wad of cash as she's crying on the bench. He goes up to Linda. I couldn't think of her name. That's why I kept calling her pretend wife. I brought you some flowers. You don't deserve to get caught up in my stuff, all right? It's not fair to you, not after all the kindness you show me, but you know, I'm just a hothead. So forgive me, all right? Forgive your boy. And she's like, Linda's like, and you think flowers are going to fix all this? Well, I thought ladies like flowers. And Gunslinger Spawn continues his speech. But the point is, my troubles aren't yours. You're a good woman. You deserve better than that. But that man, he hurt my family, and I gotta do what I gotta do. And I can't let go of that. I wish I could, says Javier, but I can't. So I'll let you get on with your life. So Linda shares her perspective, then Javier lets her be. Later, he's close to finding a man that helped destroy his life, but Javi doesn't know where he's located still. He's hoping maybe he can ask a couple people in town. So these two girls come up to him like, hey baby, looking for some company? We don't bite. And Javier's like, I ain't looking for company, but I'm looking for a ride. Here's some bucks. So they give him a ride, and armed with proper directions, Javier is on a mission. I guess that house on the cliff that bank teller was telling him about, that's where he's going. But he'll need help getting to where he needs to go. So he's thankful his pet doesn't seem to lose its powers after the events of Spawn issue number 350, unlike all the other Hell Spawns that did. So Javier's like, okay, let's do the damn thing. But you gotta stay over here. They ride, they park at a distance, That way he can slip into the house unnoticed. He walks another half a mile until he finds what he's looking for. The lights and the windows tell him someone is definitely home. Being powerless, he believes is actually an advantage because he knows his enemies have lost their powers too. And because Gunslinger Spawn is known for being the lesser of the opponent, he's used to being resourceful and he likes that. So this guys and these guard dogs, they're outside, they're like, okay, the dogs are going crazy, barking. They're like, what the hell is this? Calm your damn bark down. Go out there and see what the hell it is. Go sick them, boys. Probably them coyotes. Well, it ain't no damn coyote, it's just Javier finishing changing. But not wanting to hurt them or draw attention to himself, he holsters his gun, then makes a break for it. But I guess he's running so fast he trips on something or he trips on himself. But he knows he can't keep pace for very long. And he knows there's far too many of them for him to fight back. So now we see this guy having a meeting with this dude. And he's talking about like Hong Kong and the Seoul meetings. And he's hoping he can convince Hong Kong to share their data collecting for his benefit, you know? But these dogs keep barking. He's like, man, these dogs better shut up. And these dogs do shut up. But this guy in a suit warns the other guy, who's obviously the owner of the house, about Gunslinger Spawn not knowing who he is, and his lady coming to the bank, and intel couldn't get quite the information on him. They might be civilian, but they're unknown. And this guy recognizes him like, that bastard is using a human host. Good, that means he lost his powers too, but he'll still make an attempt on us. Tell the boys to stay alert and start by finding that damn car they were driving. She left, he had to get a ride from them fine honeys in the bar, but that lady Linda took the car, went back home. I wonder if she'll come back into the story later. So moments later, the entire house goes dark. The boss, having lived for centuries now, knows what this means. He's ready, but like some grim reaper, Gunslinger Spawn fixes his gaze on his target as the wind howls. The low, guttural growls the dogs fill the chambers, waiting for their new master's command. And yet, none, including Gunslinger Spawn, move from their spots. And this guy's like, I heard you come through the time rip. Knew you'll come after me, just a matter of time. It's just a matter of when. Must have got yourself distracted with your superhero team. He's referencing the Scorch. Surely you got something to say like, what'd you do to my man? Javier continues to stand silently, seething at his enemy. He won't dignify letting his man's name escape his lips. And we get to see what Javier did to his guard dog. And Gunslinger Spawn is here for one thing and one thing only. He wants that ass. Guys, are you just gonna sit there and not say nothing at all? Well, you made a grave mistake coming here. Should have kept yourself hidden where it was safe. See, we've built an army while you kept playing the loner. And Amy, she knew how reckless. And before he can complete that sentence, Gunslinger Spawn's like, boy, shut up. But little does he know, someone's watching him from a distance. There's a bigger threat at play, and we don't know what it is. But then again, Gunslinger Spawn is not running no more. He's turning the tables. And that is the end of this issue of Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 32. So previously in Gunslinger Spawn, Gunslinger checks another name off his list, but unbeknownst to him, the law is closing in on him fast. So soon after the death of his sister, Gunslinger made a promise to her. A promise to hunt down every last person who had anything to do with sniffing around such a beautiful life. Did I say sniffing? I meant snuffing. Like, so pretty much they ended her and he's going after revenge. So tonight he'll cross another name off that list and we see bro right there being crossed off. Though it will do nothing to quell his anger. And he's still pissed looking at this bro just having a head just shot off at him. Soon, Amy, this will all be over. For now we got that camera just looking at Gunslinger Spawn because he's not really aware of modern technology and we don't know who's eyeing that camera right now. But for now, revenge still consumes him. And he goes off on bro and leaves and he just hopes that he rots in hell. He leaves. And though he wants to tell himself tonight meant something, he won't give himself that satisfaction because he hates the fact that many of those he's hunting are still alive back in the 1800s. He swears he'll get back there soon. He rides on that horse that Dakota gave him a few issues back, but until then, he'll continue to navigate through this strange modern time. And for now, since he became a mere mortal, he needs to get some rest so he can think better and plan his next move better too. So he goes up and sees at a bench and he sees that Linda is there. He's like, I'm surprised to see you here. Thought you'd be long gone. I should be. And Gunslinger's like, well, I'm glad you're not. Is that right? I didn't know you smoked. Well, today I picked up the habit with all the bull jive you put me through. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, yo, give me an extra one. Oh, cut the crap, Javi. What's on your mind? You, Linda, you've been on my mind. I've dragged you into my problems. And no. Linda's like, don't even go there. We all got problems. We all got to deal with them. We just don't walk around with guns shooting people to solve them, all right? I understand you lost some family. I know what that's like. Believe me, someday I'll let you in on that. But I'm still too mad at you to get that personal. So, let's stick to that. Let's stick to you. And Linda's like, I spoke with that friend of yours, Wahia. He said you're different somehow. And what do you mean by that? And Javier's like, it's a little complicated, Well, let's start with something simple. You find that banker guy you wanted? Javier has that smirk on his face like, nah, I looked, but nothing turned up. It was a quiet evening, really. Quiet with that headshot and that camera. I don't know what's going to go on with that camera, but the camera ain't good. But Gunslinger Spawn's like, look, I'm going to keep looking, gotta be honest about that. Well, and I gotta be honest with you too. I want to go home and have some normality in my life. I got a job, friends that I need to get back to. I'll drop you off wherever you want. And Javier's like, you've been kind, Linda, but I won't bother. And Javier's like, wait a minute, what's that noise? And Linda's like, I don't know, just the police or fire trucks, I guess. Police? Like sheriffs? Yeah, he's not really aware of the times now, but the cops show up and they want his hands in the air like he does care. And Linda's like, Javier, get your damn hands up. And he knows he did something. I said, get your hands in the air so we can see him. And Javier's like, nah, we ain't doing this, bro. Grab my hand, Linda. What? We don't know who these people are, just grab my arm. And he takes her arm, uses that table as a shield as they go off on them bullets on him. And so Javier's like, the door, get that door, get in there, cover yourself, slams the door, and ducks for cover as these bullets just go flying above him. And Javier knows that she can't stay there, so she has to use the back door, and because it's locked, he kicks the door open and she takes off. So the cops have no choice but to smash it in, then take cover. So Javier's like, look, Linda, my pet is gonna help you, Linda, so stand back. And that little horse, or that little lizard actually, just morphs into this giant horse, and Linda's like, this is crazy. And Javier's like, this is your only chance. So he lifts her up, and she's like, I can't. He's like, you must. Get that butt on there and hold on as tight as you can. So Linda doesn't know it, but the horse will take her directly to Wahia, Gunslinger's shaman, his friend. So for Javier, if he's to survive, his choices are limited. He ducks, gets his bag, they go in, and some things are about to go down. But they have to retreat because, yeah, some things did go down. Javier darts out the back door, but he sees some police coming in his direction. He's only got one direction left to go, and that is up as he makes his way out of Dodge. And they see him on the roof, and he knows he's on the roof. And the roof is about to be on fire in a minute. So he dons his mask, not wanting them to see his face. But it's far too late for that now, because that camera in the office where he murked Boy over there, they saw his face clear. That's how they got his ass over there. So now the officers are like, cut off both ends, create a perimeter, clear every guest out now. SWAT will be here in 3 minutes. So security cameras have already caught what he looks like, because Javier's biggest weakness since being pulled from the time rip has been his ignorance of how modern technology works. Not only do police know what he looks like, they also know that he's a cold-blooded murderer who just killed one of their high-profile residents. So they'll do everything in their powers to bring him to justice, or use deadly force if necessary. One arm now is useless, and is now combined with a leg pinned in the fallen metal beams. He can't move, so he tries to get himself unstuck, and SWATs arrive and they're ready to go in. So amid the chaotic happenings here, more reinforcements come screaming into play, but Gunslinger Spawn just can't get his freaking leg out of the way. His leg won't budge, so they want to go in, though in the end, neither Gunslinger nor the police needed to work out how to end this horrifying standoff. They don't know what they're going to do, but instead, gravity took care of that for them. Because I know that I said the roof is on fire, but it's not. The roof just actually collapsed, and Gunslinger Spawn is hurt, so they need to call an ambulance. And that is the end of Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 33. Gunslinger's Vengeance ignites a manhunt. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. So previously in Gunslinger Spawn, as Gunslinger seeks to flee from the police, the roof of his motel caves in, trapping him in the wreckage. So they put a gun to his head, and they are given orders that if he moves, put a bullet in him. But 2 months ago, a bullet wouldn't have mattered. Today, it will kill him because, obviously the events in Spawn issue number 350. So the policeman and SWAT, they're like, okay, in the meantime, clear the perimeter, get all the tenants out of there, then put 3 units on the backside. I don't want any media pricks finding themselves anywhere near this place. So the sergeant asks, what about the medics? They're on standby. Well, he tells them, our men get treatment first. This mofo gets treatment later. So he doesn't care if the cycle bleeds out. But I want photos so I can run an ID on this brother. So they wheel Gunslinger Spawn in a hospital bed. I can't think, oh, the gurney, that's the name. So they're like, what a mess. They take off his mask so they can get the vitals. And the cops are like, okay, the governor is sending the National Guard to help. They should be here in an hour. So they talk to the hotel manager, or actually the motel manager, and the motel manager tells the cops, like, I told everyone, the guy was polite and quiet and paid cash for everything. Same for the lady that was with them. I hate that he has to put Linda on blast like that, because Gunslinger Spawn didn't want Linda to get involved in any of this. So after all that's happened, the ambulance ride is eerily quiet. Perhaps because in a town like this, none of them know how they're supposed to act. They rely solely on instincts. But you know, his heart's climbing, so they realize he needs oxygen. But outside, a stream of deafening sirens own the local streets. So the cops are following the medics at the hospital because they want to make sure they get their guy. He's not escaping. So soon word of what's happened has gripped the city. So they put him on the IV, they get the blood transfusion set up, they put him down, they settle him in, they let him go do their thing. So the cops are talking to the doctors, and the doctors are like, look, I appreciate the sensitivity to your case, but your injured men, the cops, especially Thompson, they're gonna need to get some rest. Lots of it. So I keep it close to family members at the start. Oh yeah, that's cool. Well, what about the perp? Well, as for Gunslinger, he's sedated, but he won't be lucid for 6 to 8 hours. His belongings, we need to get a hold of those. So they do a search and they realize what kind of ammunition this brother is packing. He's packing heavy, bro. So 23 miles away with a slap, Gunslinger sent his steed away to escape. It hasn't stopped running since. So they go to Wahia and Linda's on that horse. So Wahia's like, okay, get her inside quick. This is the same woman that came days ago. They realize that, but she didn't come on her own will this time. She came on that horse's. Javier probably sent her for safekeeping, so we gotta be gentle with her. Later on, she wakes up. She's like, okay, what is this place? That's okay. Do you feel hurt? She doesn't feel hurt, but she wants a glass of water because her brain is kind of fuzzy. So they're sitting there just talking, and she tells Wahia the story that she's been trying to get Gunslinger Spawn to do it like an attitude check, because all he wants to do is kill everyone and kill everything. And it sounded crazy, but all I remember is being transported here and surrounded by flames. None of it makes sense. And Wahia's like, just drink this water, it'll calm you down. Well, the cops, they came for Javi. That's what I remember. So she's talking about the events of what happened in the beginning of this issue and the previous issue. So Wahia's like, I don't know if the cops got him, but I'll get answers for us though. Javi, if he hasn't told you, he's always had himself in steady trouble. Yeah, I know, says Linda. Our Gunslinger Spawn keeps talking about his family. That topic feeds the demons inside of him. Alright, which for now he has many demons inside of him. But let the spirits wash over you. Then we'll worry about this later. So close your eyes. For now, you're my main concern. They hold a press conference outside the hospital saying that they caught the perp. He's a murderer. He murdered Dylan Calhoun, the owner of many businesses in town. You know, setting up the story that we got our guy. Look at all the damage he's done. We were working tirelessly to catch his ass. But as of yet, they've been unable to ascertain the identity of the man lying in the hospital. They don't know his identity yet, but they know they caught their guy because they caught him on the video footage from the bank in the couple issues back. So Julio goes to this guy who looks like, I don't know, like a hitman with hair, just talking about, hey, this keeps getting weirder. This company, this pistol, the company that manufactured it went out of business over 100 years ago. I searched and there's no known functional firearm like it in existence. This thing looks like it's brand new. So back to the hospital with Gunslinger Spawn. The doctor's running tests and he's evaluating Gunslinger Spawn, and he hasn't noticed any changes or anything off the charts. But Gunslinger wakes up, and because he's from the 1800s, not even knowing what the hell all this is about, waking up in a hospital 200 years in the future, this is a trip for him. So like a raging bull, Javi fights his restraints, and eventually a max dose of Valium does the trick. So while he's sedated, they want to get Gunslinger Spawn in a robe, but what the doctors and the medical staff see horrifies him. The events, the extent of lacerations and scars riddled across the patient's body is unlike anything they've ever seen before. It's inconceivable how someone could have lived through so much physical trauma. But since he has, that might actually be a clue for them. And one of that clues is, you see that laceration on his chest right there? That was Calhoun's building logo in a couple issues back, I believe. So with that amount of mutilation to his body, these shadows just start talking. Imagine the toll it's taken on his mental state. Our brains are not built for this kind of stuff. So as Javier slips into deeper and deeper into his medicated sleep, Javi's subconscious begins to wander, grasping for his past, where fresh tracks told you everything you needed to know, along with other clues. So he finds these guys at a campfire. They're talking about their bounty. They did a murder. They're in it for cash. They're having a hard time sleeping, but are they really? But what they realize just now, all of a sudden, is their horses are getting away, and they realize quickly that somebody is out there. And Gunslinger Spawn shows up like, oh, there is. That's his dream right now. Even though this is Gunslinger Spawn's dream right now, this is their brother's nightmare. He tracked them down for 3 days after he caught the news a rancher and his family had been strung up by them. The husband, his 2 girls, and his pregnant wife. But even more insidious is that they took advantage of the girls before hanging them. They pull out their guns at Gunslinger Spawn like, don't you move, boy. But the thing is, Gunslinger Spawn doesn't listen to people like that. He is going to deal with this business, and he's going to deal with it how he sees fit. So this cowboy gets up like, knew you'll be coming, devil man. Thanks for walking straight into my trap. So I wish we had more of this issue, because that is the end of this issue of Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 34, where this is no escape. The walls close in on Gunslinger Spawn. I don't know how this dream is translating to what's happening in reality right now, but all I can say is I'm looking forward to issue number 35. Previously in Gunslinger Spawn. Gunslinger Spawn is in a coma after his run-in with the police. Memories of his past are running through his head very violently. So we end off with this issue of his encounter with the angels. Now, this dream, though fantastic, happened in real life. As Javier lays unconscious in a hospital room, his mind reels backwards, finding moments when his body has gone through trauma. And his angel's like, Cagliostro said you'll be predictable. Said we didn't need to worry about hunting you. You were gonna hunt us. And just like he said, you came to us. You're foolish, boy. It is his only way of dealing with this current condition. By finding similar times his body got ravaged. Historically, this took place over 150 years ago. But for Javier, it was only a month ago, because remember in Spawn issue 300 or 301, when Spawn created that time rift, Gunslinger Spawn time jumped 150 years into the future. And Gunslinger Spawn with his guns out like, I see you brought your armor. Good. I like me a fair fight. Oh, then you ain't so bright if you think this is gonna be fair. And Gunslinger Spawn's like, come on now, I meant for your sake. I already know you and your god don't give a damn about playing by any rules. Heaven's been selling lies for centuries now. It's a pity our race has brought into this BS so easily. And the angel's like, man, spare me your lecture. Are we gonna do this or what? And what you gonna do with that gun? You know that won't hurt me. But keep in mind, this was before Gunslinger Spawn learned how to taint his bullets so they could kill angels. And Gunslinger Spawn mocks him some more. You killed the family and its baby back there. You proud about that? You think your God is proud about that? And the angel ain't got nothing to say. It mustn't be otherwise. You wouldn't have done it. So I reckon now I gotta kill you too. And the angel gets his guns out like, nah, bro, that ain't gonna be so easy. But my guns can't kill you either. So what they gotta do, drop the guns, let's square up and see these hands. So Gunslinger Spawn mocks him again. Your move, baby killer. Now, he's been subjected to sonic waves in the past, but this assault is unlike any of those. His entire being feels like it's about to explode, then suddenly it drops. But the respite is short-lived as Heaven's warriors actually turn up the intensity this time, searing every molecule in his body like a fire, temporarily paralyzing Gunslinger Spawn's movements, giving his enemy another way to inflict pain upon him, and that is to start with his throat. The only true way to kill a Hellspawn is by severing its head. This stops the sonic waves, allowing Gunslinger Spawn to clutch something inside his throat, showing his enemy this fight will be literally an eye for an eye. Except in this case, both eyes will belong to the same person. So both of them struggle to maintain their focus due to the horrific nature of their wounds, each attempting to jumpstart their respective abilities before each other. So Gunslinger Spawn drops to the ground as necroplasm begins to glow from his right fist, attracting creatures who, combined with his necroplasm, can create a grotesque way to shut his wounds in his throat shut. So if his wound can be filled with enough of them, this living band-aid might hold. His bandana becoming the band-aid to seal it all tight. But he still needs the strength too, if he has any hope of walking away from this fight alive. So he calls on all the creatures that inhabit the land, the ones who thrive when the moon floats high in the cold black sky. Those animals that have always been allies to hell and its agents when they've been called upon. So we're talking about worms, maggots, roaches, snakes. I hate roaches, especially when you go in, wake up in the morning at 3 in the morning to get a drink of water. You got that roaches sitting there like, what's up, doc? Nah, fuck that. I know Raid will do it, but still, I don't like seeing that shit. But anyways, back to the content here. And from above, ravens and crows whose bodies nearly match the midnight skies themselves. All will be needed to pull off this act of survival, and all will be needed to defeat heaven this night. So Gunslinger Spawn mocks him again with the familiar pose as the birds settling in on outstretched arms like some frozen statue. But Heaven's warriors has sent for a flock of his own, part of the trap he's set for Gunslinger, except these winged monsters are not bird-sized. So as they build up their speed, Gunslinger Spawn continues to be swallowed up by his creepy crawlers. Now, as we kind of build up the tension on this page, I like to take this time to say that this video is sponsored by coffee. So if you'd like to buy your boy a cup of coffee, link in description, or donate to the super thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to RatedComics YouTube channel. Not to mention, don't forget to check out RatedComics.com for some really cool limited print Rated Comics exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Now we get back into it. So Gunslinger Spawn's body is now fully encased. His body braces for impact. When it finally happens, his mummified body literally explodes into thousands of pieces. The destruction of his form blotting the sight of the first of the angelic reinforcements to hit him, tangling them up in the duster jacket and slimy debris until they're able to comprehend that when they hit the writhing encasement and when they finally hit Gunslinger Spawn, there's nothing inside. But actually, he's behind them. They haven't learned all of his tricks. Though he's able to transport small distances, Gunslinger Spawn knows he's got nowhere to run. So he does the only thing left to him. He charges and goes in full throttle, and his effort is gallant but quickly short-lived. As once again, his weaknesses have always been exposed by intel which Cagliostro had given the rogue angel. So they get him into the sky, they carry him a quarter-mile high, but Gunslinger Spawn isn't flying alone. As a sea of ravens follow, then attack, viciously pecking and tearing away at those who dare to take away their master, forcing them to abandon their captive and drop him to the ground. And though his night has been brutal already, it pales against what his body endures on this fall. And it's a very similar image to him on the hospital bed. That night was just one of many Gunslinger Spawn had survived. One of many his mind could have pulled from. So when the medical team surrounding him wonders how any person could have willed themselves to continue living, given the misuse and torture his body is telling them he's been through, the answer for Gunslinger Spawn is easy. He's literally been through hell and back. Why would anyone think that a journey would leave him untouched? So the doctor's like, I want a full body scan, report of all of his major organs, run blood draws, additional x-rays on his liver, spine, lungs, along with EKG. This poor guy shouldn't even be breathing right now. So meanwhile, in South America, this guy is watching TV as a news anchor is going off about, well, authorities apprehended, there was a standoff with this guy, but they don't know his name or identity, but they managed to snuck a picture of this guy. Here's a random photo, but they have no idea who it is. As of yet, no information regarding the assailants is known other than this photo. We will bring you any updates as we come up with them. And this guy, he quickly calls a cell number and dials it quickly. I just saw my freaking son on TV. Make a call to your American contacts in Washington now. And that is the end of Gunslinger Spawn issue number 35, a haunting journey through Gunslinger Spawn's memories. So previously in Gunslinger Spawn, as Javier, Gunslinger Spawn, recoups from his injuries in the hospital, questions about his past begin to arise. So in Guyana, South Africa, we take the story back now and we're going to go forward with it. His father, who we know at the end of issue number 35, announces himself when he sees his son on TV on the news and no one can identify him. So now he makes his calls to his government contacts and he wants him out, even if they mean they have to move heaven and earth, literally and figuratively speaking, to get his son out of custody. And people are telling him he was caught shooting cops. I don't think this will be that easy, you know, because you know how it is when you shoot cops, they want some justice, you know what I mean? And this guy, his father's like, American officials like access. They want to come into this country again, they'll fix this, so do your job. Brother is like, okay, look, you can make all the threats you want. We don't take kindly the threats, but you know what you're asking is a lot. And it ain't gonna happen, but I will pass your message along, so to speak. But it turns out he gets pissed because the administration is about to sign their business treaty with their side. And POTUS wants Guyana, and keep in mind, Gunslinger Spawn's father is the president of Guyana, to be a part of the Southern Coalition. So now they have leverage. So later on, this guy goes to Joel's office, who's another high-ranking political behind-the-scenes figure and whatnot, and she's like, man, you putting this file on my desk, and now this high-level contact whose son happens to be the shooter, he wants him out. Isn't this brother still on the top of the news? Yep, he is. I'm seeing it loud and clear. So now the question is, who's gonna break it to the administration? So meanwhile in the hospital, Javier, Gunslinger Spawn, is just laying down. The doctors can't understand how he has all those scars outside of his body, but internally his organs are just fine. They don't know, but Gunslinger Spawn knows because he had healing factors back then. So he tells him, well, you know, I can tell you, but let's just say as he relives his glorious healing days in the past, that he led a hard life, a very tough life. And the doctors are like, that's it? That's all you're gonna tell us? And Gunslinger Spawn's like, yep, that's it. That's all you're gonna get. So the cop with his arm around is like, he's not satisfied about it. He's like, well, if you like, you know, we'd like to have more information because plenty of folks live tough lives and you don't see them shoot cops like you do, so I like a little bit more. And Gunslinger Spawn is like, that's all you care about, bruh? What about the man at the ranch I shot? Why aren't you asking him? What did he do to deserve me shooting him? You already know, huh? Because he's already bought you, boy. And this cop doesn't like being called out like that. What you say, scumbag? You're freaking lucky I can't touch you. Well, I can't say the same damn thing, and he pops him in the chin. See these hands? So the nurse and the other cop was like, what the heck happened? The patient needs to rest. So the guy tells him, hey man, I just fell down because, you know, I tripped like that. But he has no nerve, and he is not going to be affecting or influencing or lowering his manhood by telling them that some bedridden brother got the better of him. Javier knows that, he knows that, so they got to keep it moving, you know. So later on, they have a set of battery tests have been ordered on Gunslinger Spawn just to see what's up with the organs, and the doctor's like, there's no medical reason he needs to stay anymore, so he doesn't. They take him back to the police, and later on, he's in jail. Later on, Gunslinger Spawn gets appointed Judith Serrell, and she's been appointed by the state to be his legal attorney, you know? And Gunslinger Spawn, not understanding how it works in present time because he came from the 1800s, like, why do I need a lawyer? And she's like, the state has filed several charges against you, most serious being murder, especially of Thomas Neely and a couple police officers, not to mention other things and other charges, or other charges that have been alleged, and you are gun battling with local police. I know the cops around here, and these boys hate when their own get attacked, so they'll do everything to send you away. So my best advice is you need to cooperate with me as best as you can. So she tells him, let's start with your name. No one seems to be able to identify you, so let's start with that. Gunslinger Spawn's like, why don't you ask them, girl? Well, I asked him, but they ain't talking about it. So what about your accomplice? You know, that girl, Linda. Even though she doesn't know that her name is Linda, Gunslinger Spawn's like, you leave her out of this. She ain't got nothing to do with this. So Linda visits Wahia, and Linda's like, I still don't understand why I need to be here. And Wahia's like, it's just a precaution because I know Gunslinger Spawn. Let me ask you though, how much has Gunslinger Javier told you about himself? And Linda's like, well, not much, not really. And Wahia's like, he should have, because you earned the right to know the truth, especially if you go along with this ride with him, you know? He dragged you this far along, you have every right to know. So the man, you know, he's not from this time. He'll never be comfortable living here. And he continues to tell Linda some more. He's from a time when the country was warring against itself, when cowboys and horses ruled Western America today. We called it the Civil War. During that life he spent there, he saw way too many atrocities perpetrated on humans. The worst, having to deal with the death of his sister. He's not forgiven himself for that. And before he can exact his revenge, it was stolen from him by way of Spawn in issue 300 through that time warp. Because this simple man, somehow he'd been brought forward in time over 150 years into the future, into today's world, sucked into some portal that had ripped open in the time continuum. He's been thrown into a strange world that makes very little sense to him. He's adapted as best as he can, but he doesn't belong here. He won't survive if he has to stay. He can't read or write, and he has zero understanding of modern technology. Well, did you show Gunslinger Spawn Instagram? He might understand that. But anyways, which is how he met Taylor, but that ignorance of his is what will actually get him killed someday. His enemies know this, especially one in particular, and that's Cagliostro, who is now Sin, which we haven't heard of since Spawn issue 350. You gotta check out that issue. You'll see what I mean, because maybe Sin might make a comeback, maybe Sin may not make a comeback. So Linda, hearing all this, she's like, hold up. You're saying Javier is over 150 years old? And while he is like, I'm saying Javier isn't even his name, or that he's occupying his real body. He took this one over after a time rip. I don't believe any of this, says Linda. Well, I wish it weren't true, says Whitehead, but honestly, it is. But to survive, Javier had to commit atrocity of his own, and that's dating back to Spawn issue 309, and he had to commit acts of violence he believes are deserved against those complicit in Amy's death. Violence leading to murder, which now you're part of. You'll be hunted too. So now back at the police station, and Linda can't take all that, but we gotta go forward now. That's a story for another time. Judith, Gunslinger Spawn state appointed attorney, was like, why'd you kill him? What did Mr. Nilly do to you? Nothing, girl, is what he did to my sister. And what did he do? He helped kill her, says Gunslinger Spawn. So Judith is like, you're telling me that Mr. Nilly helped murdered your sister? Do you have proof of that? Yeah, I was there. Okay, you were present, but she's not realizing he's talking about back in the 1800s. But Gunslinger's like, wait a minute, it happened a long time ago, girl, and no one's gonna believe me. Well, I will, says Judith. It's part of my job. Lady, says Gunslinger, you don't seem to understand. It's like trying to catch water in your hand right now. No one's gonna believe me or you, so do yourself a favor and walk away from this. I told you, Gunslinger Spawn, this is my job. I can't just walk away. I can also help you, but you gotta let me help you if you can't help yourself. So let's just reconvene with this tomorrow, okay? So she leaves, and Judith gets stopped by some brother, and turns out this brother is the member of the FBI, and he tells her she's off the case with Javier, Gunslinger Spawn, and she's like, oh, is that right? And all of a sudden this is a federal case now? That should have been vetted before. I want to see your ID. And he just showed her his ID, and she's like, I don't give a damn, this is my case. You better have your boss call me, and this ain't happening. Yeah, cop killer, you know? No, it's just a lot of red tape the brother's got to go through, and it's gonna get messy. So this guy asks the federal agent how to go, and he tells him, I told you she wasn't gonna roll over. She's gonna start asking questions. So Raul, that's his name with the red glasses on, says, I'm sure your government will handle her, but it's her client my boss is interested in. That's Gunslinger. He needs to walk. And the federal agent's like, I'll see what I can do, but America doesn't like being squeezed by your cartel. And Raul makes a call. Hey, it's Raul. Tell the boss man he may need to turn up the heat a little bit to get this Gunslinger out. So who is Raul? For nearly 2 decades, Raul Jimenez has been a loyal soldier. First as a military recruit, then a drug runner, and eventually rising up the ranks to being one of the top fixers for his boss, Carlos Sanchez, leader of the South American cartel. He prides himself on having the proper leverage to win most every transaction. It's a skill that comes with quite the reputation. Speaking of reputation, whose footsteps are those? And someone hasn't tried to tamp down that reputation as Raul sleeps, but a loud boom comes in, These hand comes in, and those hands can only mean one thing, and it's Monolith. And Monolith takes him up into the air, and with that kind of strength, that's just not fair. That is just strictly not fair. He could just crush his head like you and I crushing a mushroom or cherry tomato or something. But anyways, Monolith tells him, I hear we're both looking for the Gunslinger Spawn. Lead me to him, so to speak. And you know what? That's what I'm talking about. That Gunslinger Spawn's recovery in the hospital now takes a twisted turn. What has Monolith got to do with it? We all know Gunslinger Spawn's dad is some kind of high-ranking leader or the president of Guyana in Africa. What's all that about? But I can't wait to see how this all unfolds in later issues. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. Also, link in the description if you wish to add this comic book and or any of our other limited print rated comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, thank you again for watching. Until next time.